Chris.
Heath.
It's time you revealed your true form.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
emerging from my chrysalis.
And then you just look like Bayonetta, but with the same haircut, which is not very, very not Bayonetta.
Right, she's all about manipulating her hair.
Yeah. And you're all about manipulating me.
That's my favorite pastime.
Yeah.
Heath, why am I entering my final form?
Because you beat Persona.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Third time?
This is only time number 2 for me. There's only so many hours in my lifespan.
I was wrong. You firmly stated that I had no shot of beating that game in any reasonable amount of time. And that's truer words have never been said.
I was pretty confident when I made that claim.
In order to beat this game, you have to be a sicko. Hey, Sam.
Hi.
Hey, Samantha's back.
I'm here.
We'll stop pretending to ignore you.
Oh, okay, that's nice. I appreciate it. I
trying
also beat Persona, Heath.
That's why I called you a sicko.
Yeah, this will be the big unpacking Persona 5 Royal episode. Probably in the back half. We'll save the best for last. This is, of course, Mobius Tubes, episode 106, being recorded on January... I almost did it again. Being recorded on...
Oh, boy.
I'm going off of Persona dates.
The snow is
right
falling.
June 29th, 2024. Heath has a bucket full of unsalted, dry roasted peanuts.
This became mukbang.
He's going to be helping himself, too. How's everybody doing?
Why does everybody have to be related to everybody?
Oh,
Freaking Futaba is his secret daughter. Like, probably Arsene is my uncle.
how intimately familiar are you with the plot of Persona 5 now?
You will surely have to quiz me. I can rattle off some key points. Chris, after the end of this workout session, I'm going to look like Shadow Shido, am I right? And then I'm going to sexually harass the lady behind the desk.
Wow, you did some homework.
Look at you.
Well, I'm very impressed, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Here's some opening banter. I had a cell phone die on me. I took it into the shop and they said there's no chance. It was just working 1 minute. I was looking at a text from Janice. That was the last frame I saw before it entered a restarting death spiral. And then it eventually died for real.
And now you're plagued by this Apple product.
This Apple product, I'm being tortured by it. This is my work phone.
This is a blessing in disguise, Chris. I'll just share my location with you at all times.
So I'll know exactly how close you are to game night.
Right.
And now I get read receipts from you.
Right.
And you can react to text messages.
That's uncharted territory to me.
I love it. You hate it.
I hate it. But yeah, I've never had a phone literally die on me before. So I've got a new one coming in the mail. I'm sticking on Team Android. Don't you worry.
Ugh.
The window to react to my text messages will be a short span. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Boo.
We've got a buffet of games to talk about this episode. We'll leave the heady Persona 5 discussions for last and do the more easy breezy stuff first. Let's talk about The Witness, the infamous puzzle game from Jonathan Blow. Samantha and I would have loved to come to this episode telling you we finished it, but we're
so close we can taste it, but Jonathan refuses to give us the dub, and I hate him for it.
Guys, you gotta invite me over sometime. I have 74 flower petals and Baba is you. I can solve anything.
I've been playing that lately. It's really fun.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm not going to talk about it, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Witness.
The Witness.
The Witness, right. The elevator pitch for this game, you're dropped on an island. It is full with line puzzles where you approach these very clinical on a screen panel. They look like mazes with a start and an exit, but it's not as simple as trace a path to the exit. No, you're slowly compiling a rule set in your head of certain properties that you need to trace on your path to the exit to actually fulfill the puzzle. Reaching the exit is often not sufficient, and that's the genius of the game, where each different distinct area of the island will introduce new rules and concepts to you, expanding the very concept of a line puzzle to the threshold of what you thought was possible. And Samantha, we're deep into this game. To give players some context of how far we are in, the kind of overall objective is to complete each hub of the game, which will cause a laser to shoot up at a mountaintop. And once foreseeably all the lasers are powered on, you can enter the mountain. And we are currently working our way down the mountain. We've covered all the different areas of the island individually. One thing that has consistently impressed me is, it's general puzzle game design convention to introduce the player to a new concept with some introductory puzzles. Often, you'll do a quick handful of, 3 or 4 puzzles to kind of reinforce the idea, maybe have some slight twists on the formula until you're comfortable with it, and then only then will a puzzle game introduce a new concept to you. But
Jonathan Blow had other plans.
Jonathan Blow, that puzzle game concept pacing must seem lethargic to him, because damn near every puzzle you do in this, he's not content to rest on his laurels and reinforce ideas. You've got a brand new idea to grapple with nigh near every puzzle. And it's gross. He doesn't let you catch your breath. Every time he's going to subvert your expectations, or you'll need to look at the puzzle from an entirely new angle you have yet to consider in the game's runtime up until this point. Man, there's no fat on the game's bones. It's just fresh idea after fresh idea. And yet the game, it's taken us, we've been playing it for 18 or 19 hours so far. It's not a short experience. The quantity of novel ideas that have been jam-packed into this game, it's been staggering to me. Samantha, agree, disagree? Any things you want to jump off on?
Oh, I strongly agree. We've been playing this game since April, and I feel like I've been playing it for years. That's just how it feels to me emotionally. Every time we see a new puzzle, I'm just like, oh God, what now? But we're almost to the end. There were 11 lasers to find in the environment.
I was upset when we looked up. Apparently, we only needed to activate 7 of them.
Yeah, I was also upset to find that information because I was like, we could have been free so much sooner. But I don't think either of us would have been satisfied with only doing the minimum.
Yeah, it's personal now. We need to really stick it to Jonathan Blow.
Yeah, we need to show him that we can beat him in a fight.
Precisely. I see why this game took so long to make, because this game has thoroughly explored everything a line puzzle could be. It's ridiculous.
He could have done 2 braids in that same amount of time.
Right.
Like a Disney princess, because there's 2 braids.
The Witness came out way back in 2016, and it concerns me what he's been cooking up in the 8 years since then, because he's going to release something
worse,
even worse onto the world, presumably. I am still impressed with how language independent this game is. You don't see a single lick of text. Tutorials seem to be beneath the design philosophy of Jonathan Blow. You just learn everything the game has to teach you. It's so organic. You often approach the simplest incarnation of a puzzle concept, and then it quickly expands from there. So you just learn the fundamental underlying rules, and then you just have to constantly show and apply them on the more complex puzzles as it goes. And it's all done wordlessly.
Take that, Chance of Sonar.
Which is a game all about language, amusingly. So yeah, I like how you could plop this game down in front of anyone.
O.J. Simpson.
No matter how different of a culture or background they come from. And I think the concepts would get across if they sat with it long enough. So yeah, I'm impressed with The Witness. I have to count it among the most
top 10 of the year list.
Oh, it'll probably be there.
You heard it here first.
It's a game I can't help but admire to a great extent. My admiration exceeds my raw enjoyment, though.
Ooh.
It's a game that is not without its frustrations as you sit there banging your head against the wall, not seeing what the game wants you to find until it eventually clicks. And you have to you really have to consider these puzzles from a diverse number of perspectives.
I would say this game is massively improved by playing it with someone, even though people might think to the contrary, just because when you're facing a difficult problem, it's really nice to have someone there to work through it with you. And I feel like Chris and my puzzle solving skills really complement each other well. So yeah, if you have someone like that in your life and you're interested in this game, I would strongly recommend playing it with them.
I second that. I don't think I would have persevered this far all by myself.
Yeah, I don't think I would have made it this far.
Yeah, anytime sounds are involved or geometric shapes, Samantha is hard carrying me.
Chris sees a single Tetris piece and he's like, I don't know how to do this.
I give up. It's a feat of game design, but it's not always giving me 10 out of 10 dopamine highs while I'm playing it. Certainly an impressive game for sure. Those are most of my matured thoughts on The Witness. I wonder what the big climax end of the game will look like, because we don't know yet.
We're almost there. We're like probably an hour or two away.
As we descend down the interior of the mountain, I do feel like he's punishing us with what he's putting us
Jonathan?
through. Yeah, I do feel like he's like, oh, you thought you were finished. Very cute. You thought all those lasers were going to get you the game. No, you have to pass my final exam, and it's brutal.
I'm not kidding when I say some puzzles inside the mountain interior were headache-inducing.
They were.
It made me physically uncomfortable. He's dialed it up to 11 inside the mountain. But yeah, that's The Witness. I begrudgingly recommend it. Just because of how clever it is.
Yeah, I'd say at least give it a stab. And then if you find yourself in despair, you can drop it. Don't let him win.
Imagine being the listener hearing this podcast being like, how do I convince my significant other to sit down and solve over 400 line puzzles with me? How do I sell that? You need a very particular partner, I guess.
That's me.
All right. What else we got?
That was The Witness. Samantha, let's throw it on over to you. What do you want to talk about? You've been gaming up a storm.
I brought 3 games to talk about that aren't Persona, and I'll have plenty to say about that. I think I'll go ahead and start with a game that, Chris, I know you've played. Zero Escape, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors.
999.
999.
Yeah.
This is a Spike Chunsoft game. I dearly love that company just because the Danganronpa series was one of my favorites. And so when I discovered this game existed, thanks to Steam family sharing, I knew immediately I was going to play it.
Same with Karma Star.
Maybe I'll pass on that one, seeing as it's like deleted from the internet.
Yeah.
So anyways, the pitch for 999 is that there are 9 players numbered 1 through 9 on a sinking ship. To get out, they must seek a door with a number 9 on it. So there are a series of numbered doors throughout this ship, labeled 1 through 9, unsurprisingly. People can only enter these doors under 2 conditions. The first is that 3 to 5 people must enter a door at a time. And the second is their numbers combined must equal the digital root of the number on the door.
People have bracelets on with certain numbers.
Yes, and they're unable to remove them.
Because there's bombs.
And yeah, if people disregard the rules, they will be exploded from the inside.
Yeah.
So pretty unpleasant. So following these rules, it's a suspenseful visual novel intercut with escape room puzzles. So in terms of what I liked about the game and what I disliked, I didn't like the protagonist at all. I thought he was very annoying.
Junpei.
Junpei is his name. So all of the characters in the game except Junpei have a name that's related to their number to like disguise their real name. But Junpei doesn't. Junpei is his real name. His number is 5. The other character I didn't like was June, who is Junpei's love interest. Of course, her number is 6 because June is the 6th month. Other than that, I liked everything else about the game. I just thought it was funny that my only complaints were the 2 major characters. I thought they were so whiny. Every time they were like, oh, don't you want to do this so you can help June or make her feel better? I was like, no, I don't. I find her insufferable. My first playthrough the game, I actively avoided her at all costs, which I don't think is how you're meant to play the game if you want a successful run.
That's funny because you're choosing who you pair up with in certain rooms.
Yeah,
so you were just actively avoiding June.
There's a decision tree in this game, and most of the decisions are your digital route could be you need to go through door 4 or 5. So which group do you want to travel with? If you travel through X group, you'll go with certain people and June. And if you go in this other group, you won't go with June, but you'll go with these other people. And I was like, not June? That sounds amazing. That being said, I really liked Lotus and Seven as some of the characters. I liked that they interspersed a lot of the plot and dialogue with these seemingly made up science experiments based on morphogenetic fields, which is how they explain telepathy. It did make you kind of question, like, oh, are these real scientific studies? Because the way they explain them, they're very technical, and they do present them as an authority. Like, of course, telepathy is not real, but within the universe of the game, it's very compelling.
Sometimes the game jumps in with fun history lessons about, oh, this is the sister ship to the Titanic. And here's some fun trivia.
Is it the not the Lusitania?
It's called the Gigantic.
Oh, I was gonna say like the Cyclops.
The Gigantic might be real.
I think it is.
Okay. So the history of the Gigantic is that it was a sister ship to the Titanic. It's allegedly built pretty much identically.
It's made of icebergs.
It's made of icebergs. And during World War II, the military commissioned it to be a medical ship, I think. So it was like refitted to be a giant hospital, which is a large part of the setting.
And that's where the game takes place, on the Gigantic.
Yes, the Gigantic is actively sinking while you're on it, and you only have 9 hours to get out before it sinks.
I would think the U.S. military would be a little smarter than to put only 9 doors on a battleship.
There are more than 9 doors, but the doors through which you progress through the ship are labeled with numbers.
You see, all of Sam's counting with Elmo training is really paying off in this game.
It sure is.
It sure is. I mean, they do give you a calculator, but I like to...
Hell yeah, get back to that. As soon as you said there's a decision tree in this game, I was going to be like, and what do trees have? Let's get back to the roots.
I really liked technically about this game. So to get the true ending, you must hit other endings first. And that might seem really tedious because you're like, I don't want to play through the whole game again. You don't have to. There is a visual decision tree map, and you can point and click to which level you'd like to go to.
Yeah.
So you can force different endings really efficiently once you've booted through the game once or gone through all the endings naturally, which is really easy to do. And I think that's kind of a necessary feature, given that the true ending to this game is necessarily unlocked by a different ending. But I really, really appreciated it. I feel like there are a lot of visual novel games with multiple endings that don't do that. So I wish it were more commonplace.
What are you guys playing this on?
I played it on my computer.
Okay.
On Steam. It was originally a DS game.
I wanted to say I thought the true ending was really good, but Chris told this to me before I played it. And he
the
was
weirdest of spoilers I gave you.
Yeah, he was like, this ending is improved if you think about that it was originally released on the DS.
Which tells you nothing at all.
And I was like, what on earth does he mean?
But you'll know it when you see it.
And I sure did. He was absolutely correct. The only complaint I had about the ending is I thought the villain's motivations were kind of strange. But I mean, whatever. I thought the rest of the plot was really compelling and interesting, and I liked it.
The bottom screen shows a 10th door.
And so, yeah, that's all my thoughts about 999. I would recommend it if you liked the Danganronpa series or if you just like interesting story games. I thought it was really cool adventure.
Yeah, if you're a spiker, that's what we call Spike Chunsoft junkies.
Are we talking about volleyball again? What are we doing? Yeah, you beat me to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's more of these games too. I've only played the original 999.
We're going to play the sequel together once we bury the witness.
Once the witness is dead and buried, we can finally play the sequel.
Yeah.
10-10-10.
We always make that joke.
It writes itself.
Redacted.
Redacted. Very cool, Samantha. Right. I have one other game I can discuss besides Persona. To soak in the summertime vibes, I thought I would hop into Dave the Diver.
Oh, our favorite indie game, am I right?
Yes, the capital I indie game not made by a giant South Korean mega corporation.
That's right.
The aesthetically pixelated looking restaurant management game, mixed a little bit with some light action adventure as you dive beneath the waves as Dave, the titular Dave, he's trying to rustle up enough fish every day to keep the sushi restaurant he works at well supplied at night and to feed all the customers who show up. It's divided up into a day-to-day calendar, much like Persona, where your morning and afternoon will be spent beneath the waves, hunting for fish, grabbing seaweed and shells and all the different resources you can scavenge off the seafloor. And then at nighttime, You run a light restaurant management sim, a little bit mixed of some reflexes like a diner dash, but primarily you're allocating like which types of employees am I assigning to which role, and setting your menu every night to maximize profits. And it's a very compelling loop. Anyone who's played it will quickly say the game sinks its hooks into you, pun intended.
Nice.
Where it was immediately hard to put down because you cultivate what fish you're able to find, and you immediately want to see how much you can sell them for. And then as soon as you've done that cycle once, you want to keep repeating it. Here's the thing. There's very few deadlines in the game. So even if you do have a lackluster fishing expedition, where maybe you even run out of oxygen and you have to return to the surface where you can only retain one fish you caught, which is a huge penalty. It's basically you hit a fail state if you run out of oxygen. The reason I'm not tempted to save scum that is because there's not really many deadlines. So I could just go to the next day and fish all over again without being severely penalized. So I'd say it's got casual vibes. It's not the world's most challenging game. There's some light reflex challenges as you're fishing. You've got a harpoon gun to reel in fish. The bigger the fish, the more button mashing you might have to do, or there's some occasional light quick time events or waggling a stick back and forth. But you can mitigate any dexterity issues you might face by just harpooning the fish multiple times. This game takes place in the mythological blue hole part of the ocean, which has fish varieties from all over the world, which is how the game justifies having a diverse flora and fauna everywhere. I've recently ran into things as exotic as a Greenland shark.
Whoa.
In the glacial area, or cuttlefish. Samantha's nodding her head vigorously. Known marine biologist fan, Samantha.
Yeah, but you're killing them.
I'm often killing and harvesting the fish. I have not been mainlining the tranquilizer gun, which lets you bring home sleepy fish. No, I've been skewering them, I'm afraid.
How many cutscenes in the restaurant have you seen?
Many. Yeah. This game has great production values. Anytime you enhance a recipe or research a new dish, you're treated to an elaborate pixelated cutscene that's like far and away anything you would expect from a game like this. The highlights are whenever like a VIP customer arrives. Those are the deadlines in the game. A new VIP will arrive, and you'll often be given 2 in-game calendar days to rustle up the right ingredients to make the personalized dish that will wow them. And whenever you pull it off, you get treated to a really incredible cutscene. For example, a knockoff of Michael Bay arrived. The film director.
Mitchell Pond.
Oh, no, it was like Michael Boom or something.
Okay.
You impress him, and to illustrate the flavors that are blowing his mind, there were lots of like jet fighter explosions going on behind him. Things like that.
How do I win?
How do you win? I'm going through the campaign. I'm pretty deep into Dave the Diver, pun intended. I'm in chapter 6 of 7, I believe. And I think the campaign basically functions as just the game's tutorial, because I'm still having brand new whole chunks of the game introduced to me, where chicken farming is now a mechanic. My fish farm is cool. That's where I can like send surplus fish to go live on my fish farm and get them to breed.
Can you name the fish?
You can name your chickens, but not your fish.
I'll take it.
Fish are expendable in the world of Dave the Diver.
Whereas chickens are they're like sacred cows.
Yes. You could play the game foreseeably endlessly, and the campaign just serves as a way to introduce you to the game's many verbose mechanics. But no, it's an incredibly rewarding loop. Every time I go diving, I feel almost like a burglar, trying to cram as many goodies as I can into my big knapsack I have slung over my back, trying to grab the most valuable fish species that will yield the most lucrative returns when I go to sell them at nighttime. So I'm just filling my knapsack during the day and then reaping the rewards at night. You research more and more valuable recipes so you can get fatter and fatter returns every day.
Is this better, Subnautica?
Oh man, it's pretty different. I mean, in Subnautica, there's not so much of a loop.
There's not so much cooking.
There's no cooking. Oh well, okay. I guess there is cooking. Yeah, what am I saying?
Fake fan.
I would say while Dave the Diver feels more like you said, a tutorial for endless mode, Subnautica, I feel like there's a goal. And
you're trying to get off the planet, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you hit it, I mean, hypothetically, you could continue playing the game, but I don't see why you would. It feels more plot driven.
Where I'm at in Dave the Diver, I'm close to the credits, but there is so much more efficiency I could eke out of the system.
Efficiency.
I could keep on going. I like cultivating which types of fish are on my fish farm, because if you pair them up, they'll breed more.
Janice can tell you all about that.
I think the game has some clever design considerations where you'd think I'm entering the late game, the commonplace fish you'd find in the shallows.
Bass.
You'd think I'd be
Carp.
diving right past them,
Pike.
like completely ignoring them, not bothering to capture something as mundane as a coral trout in my limited amount of weight I can carry before I become over encumbered every day. But the game gives you incentives to actually circle back and care about low-level fish when you learn new recipes that are later in the game. If you combine a bunch of low-level fish together, you can create actually a very lucrative recipe. So it gives you incentives to not constantly discard old fish. You're going to be cycling what you care about over the course of the game. There's dangerous fish like megamouth sharks and stuff that will come and attack you. This game has some like light combat mechanics just to keep you on your toes.
I've seen it.
There's managing the risk and reward of, hey, I've got a pretty full pack of fish right now. Do I press on and get a little greedy, or do I just surface right now and cut my losses? So it's a cool game. It's very procedural. I was getting a little burned out on it until I turned it into a podcast game, because it's really just pure mechanics to me at this point, despite its charming aesthetics and pleasant soundtrack. And I'd say it borrows a lot from games I've enjoyed in the past. A game like Moonlighter comes to mind, the game about an RPG village shopkeeper who during the day runs a shop, sells items, makes some money, but at night moonlights as an adventurer in a dungeon to grab resources to sell in his shop. So there's a very explicit same loop here. It also reminds me of the SteamWorld Dig games.
Ah, there it is.
Those
Reset the clock.
Those were games where you upgrade your character to dive deeper and deeper beneath the ground to find rarer resources. And Dave the Diver, it's the same thing, except you're underwater instead of underground. And you're upgrading your oxygen supply, your harpoon damage, the amount of pressure your suit can handle. So yeah, it's a very see big numbers go up kind of game. It appeals to my lizard brain, and all the charming presentation is just icing on the cake for Dave the Diver. There's some story here about like a lost civilization, but that's not the main appeal to me. Honestly, whenever they're hitting you with story bits, I find myself remarking to myself that this is nice and all, but it's not why I'm here.
It's no Dredge.
There is the Dredge collaboration.
Hey, there you go.
I don't think I've hit the Dredge content, but I did hit the Godzilla content.
Go on.
I guess there was a collaboration with like Godzilla -1, the recent movie, where you can pilot Godzilla briefly in one story section.
That'll wow the critics.
So Dave the Diver, I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. You might even see it appear in my top 10 games at the end of the year. It's a contender.
No way.
It's a contender.
All right.
It is a very well-made one of these.
Mm-hmm.
Samantha, I know you're going to be talking about an aquatic game very soon. Does Dave the Diver hold any appeal to you?
I don't know. I guess I'm just
playing Soma.
I like marine life too much, and I've seen Chris play some of it, and I think even the very goofy like blood that spurts from the fish might be too much for me. I'm like, it makes me sad. I'm like, I like pufferfish. I think they're cute. I don't want to stab it with a harpoon. So
but the bonuses.
If I want my cool efficiency maxing game where I'm upgrading my character, I'm going to play more Stardew Valley.
You took one look at the farming screen where I'm raising rice and tomatoes, and you're like, Chris, why haven't you tried Stardew Valley yet? And I don't have a good answer, honestly.
You're just like not trying it out of spite.
Girls.
Yeah, because it's for girls. It's for boys too, I swear.
All right, that's all I have to say about Dave the Diver. Maybe I'll have more to say when the ending blows my mind. And his name was actually Mike the whole time, not Dave. Samantha, take the reins.
All right. Well,
what else have you been playing?
I have 2 more games to talk about, but the first, like you said, is another aquatic adventure because I've been playing Endless Ocean Luminous.
What the hell is this YA novel title? What?
See, you would think. So the Endless Ocean series, the first game was released in 2007, and then the sequel, Endless Ocean Blue World, was released 2 years later. I probably put over 100 hours into both those games when I was like 10 to 12. Maybe not each, but definitely at least combined.
Those were games on the Wii?
Those were games on the Wii.
Those are some Neopets hour counts.
So basically, for the first 2 games, you were playing as a marine biologist / scuba diver, and you were out on a boat, and you would go diving, and you would record fish like you were a real marine biologist.
This is Pokemon Snap.
Maybe. I don't know much about that. I'm sorry. So I really liked it as a kid.
Think apt comparison.
The judges vote yes. Okay. It is Pokemon Snap.
I really liked it as a kid because I loved marine biology. I've always loved marine biology. It felt so cool to be diving in these interesting environments. And when I was like 11, there was like an abyss environment that was so dark and there were scary ocean creatures down there. And
Anglerfish?
Anglerfish.
I wouldn't have gone down
there.
there.
And big sharks and squid.
Wait, so you're telling me you played 100 hours of this game, but you never beat that section?
Oh, I beat it.
Okay.
I felt very cool and brave as a child when exploring those areas.
That is as you should, yes.
Yeah. So in terms of the sequel, Endless Ocean Luminous, they decided to revive the series over 15 years later.
What does this look like? Does this look like Cabela's?
Pull up some screenshots.
I'm going to my endlessocean.net.
It looks like a diving simulator.
All right.
So in terms of Endless Ocean Luminous, when I saw it was coming out, I was over the moon. I expected to receive this news from the video game podcast I listened to, who reported on the Nintendo Direct where it was announced. And yet I found it out after the fact by Googling the word luminous because I needed a spell check. And then I yelled at Chris. It was great. Anyways.
Yeah, that might have been a slight omission on our part.
A slight omission on your part.
We were too smitten by Pikmin.
I admit I saw the Endless Ocean Luminous section of that Nintendo Direct in question, and I thought it was chaff to fill out the rest of the show.
Shovelware.
Unbelievable.
I saw the production values and was like, who's this for?
It's for me. So as someone who is deeply attached to the first 2 original games, I can say that Luminous doesn't have as much charm as the originals. In the first 2, the plot component was pretty interesting. You got to interact with characters and get to know them fairly well for a game of the time for what it was. And the areas were static, but you felt like you really got to know them. And then interacting with the fish and other animals down there was a little bit more involved. You could feed them. You would have to interact with them multiple times to learn more facts about them. Basically, a tiny marine biologist dream. For Luminous, they've added some things, but I feel like they've lost their way a little bit. The plot is definitely not as compelling. There's no home environment you return to in between dives. You're either diving or you don't exist. You're in the main menu screen.
You're just in the Endless Ocean.
You're just in the Endless Ocean.
Luminously.
So I feel the loss of that. You only can learn about fish the one time. So if you've interacted with them once, you know all there is to know, which I also feel like is a little disappointing. You can't feed them anymore, which again, a little disappointing.
Who made this?
Akira, the makers of Tetris 99, if you can believe it.
Why are we letting Akira get away with development like this, but we're canning Arcane Austin?
Was this the same developer for the entire series?
Yes, I checked, and they developed the first 2 games as well.
They got soft. They game freaked.
You were lamenting the fact that you could only interact with each new piece of aquatic life once, and you learn all its facts. Mm-hmm. Did you have to have multiple encounters previously?
Yeah, so you would not only have to have multiple encounters, but oftentimes you would have to interact with the fish in other ways to learn their facts.
Yeah. Sounds like we removed a lot of tedium, if you ask me.
That was the fun part.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the things they added were kind of cool. When they announced the game, they said they were including fictional fish and fish that were extinct. As a scientific purist, I was like, no, I want to learn real facts about real animals. But I think they've done a good job. It's not like overdone. You're not like every other fish isn't some abomination. For the most part, they're all pretty real. Previously in the first 2 games, there was one ocean map, and once you explored it fully, there was no more ocean to be explored. And given those maps were pretty big, so it would take you a while. But this ocean is truly endless because you can generate infinite maps of the ocean. They're allegedly AI generated. And at first I was like, well, how good is an AI going to do at generating these maps? I think it's pretty interesting. So far, I've only explored 2 of the maps, but there's definitely been unique elements to both. So I would say that's a cool addition. Basically, if you were a person who enjoyed these games when you were younger, I'd probably recommend this game, even if it doesn't have all of the charm it used to. But really, this game is just for a niche group of people who really enjoy marine biology. And if that's you, this game is probably going to hold your interest. But probably neither of you guys are going to like it.
Like I said, I saw the trailer in the direct and I was like, who is this for? And then I found my answer. It turns out my significant other.
Yeah, you should have known.
Should have known.
A lot of fish change sex as they get older.
Oh, seahorses much?
Well, seahorses, they don't change sex. The males just like carry the babies, which is pretty cool.
Dave the Diver, for the record, has an entire seahorse racing minigame component.
Oh, gambling.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Dave.
Yeah, this isn't going to hold like a typical gamer's attention because there is no like...
What are you talking about?
rush.
You can do so much in Endless Ocean. You can increase the brightness. So apparently the name was suggest.
The Luminous comes from, there is some mysterious bacteria covering all the fish, and when you scan it, it removes from the fish and the bacteria is luminescent. So the ocean is luminous because there is all this stuff floating around and attaching itself to the fish.
This needs to be a pack-in title on the Switch too. She's convincing me.
Now, Samantha, I know you're a budding marine biologist yourself. You taught me all about this really popular theory you've created to classify fish into like 2 distinct camps.
Why are you making me do this?
The listeners need to know. It's my favorite part about talking about Endless Ocean Luminous with you.
The fish I would like, I think I could hug. I call them cutie pies. And the marine life, I don't want to hug because they're like sharp or hard. I call them gentlemen because I give them a pat on the head.
There's the cutie pie gentleman dichotomy.
Chris has gotten pretty good at identifying which is which.
I have a good read on which is which.
We went to an aquarium and his success rate was really high.
Now, can you hold a couple pictures up to Heath and get his opinion on what they might be?
Oh, God. Okay.
So this is a gentleman. Right.
Mario 64.
No, that's a cutie pie.
It's a cutie pie.
You fool.
It's okay, Heath.
I have much to
You
learn.
need to get your sea legs first.
Yeah.
All right, Endless Ocean Luminous. We're covering all. Thanks for bringing some content to the show that would otherwise never make an appearance.
Oh, I know.
Never seen the light of day.
All right, I can talk about the last game I played.
What is the last game you've played not named Persona?
I finished this game on Friday. It's Dishonored, a game you guys have played.
I get to hear about Persona and Dishonored on this episode. I am eating well.
It's almost like it was your birthday or something.
Yeah.
Oh, so you played it with my birthday in mind?
No, I didn't. That was a coincidence.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Corvo Atano is back.
He sure is.
This is one of my favorite games. I even got Heath to play it back in the day. And now
It's my favorite Dishonored game thus far.
And now you've checked it out. The famous first-person stealth game, heavy immersive sim inspiration. You've never played a game vaguely in this genre, have you?
I'm going to say a game, and you're going to be like, Samantha, that doesn't count. I played Skyrim, which has stealth elements, but certainly not to this extent.
You hold up whale oil in the same fashion.
Yeah.
Just hovering 4 feet
hovering
in front of you.
Those Bethesda.
And then you throw them like
graphics.
that. This is a game when I said, yeah, you might like it, Samantha. I wasn't confident it would click for you. So I'm eager to hear your thoughts.
Hey, are rats cutie pies or gentlemen?
They're gross. I would squish them.
Yeah.
Not in real life. Real life rats are kind of cute, but in the game, they're disgusting.
Yep.
Anyway, when I started this game, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it either. After the first mission, I was like, oh, this is okay. But if this is the whole game, I don't know if I'm going to like this very much.
Gosh, I can't even. The first mission is...
You're breaking out of prison.
Oh, thank you.
And then they give you access to your powers, your supernatural abilities. The first was Blink, which allows you to teleport across small stretches. And then the first one I bought was Dark Vision, which allows you to see enemies through walls. And this elevated the game to an entirely new level. I started having the time of my life.
Quick, let's hear the Dark Vision voice effect.
I'm not doing that.
Oh, come on. You just hit him with a...
I've heard that so many times. One of my critiques about the game is why can't there just be a detective mode button that I push once and then I'm in dark vision for the whole level? Why do I have to keep pushing it? It's so annoying.
You've got to manage your mana.
I'm willing to sacrifice a permanent mana loss to not have to push that button every 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes, every 1 minute. When
it's in danger of running out and you're in a high stakes situation, it increases the tension.
Yeah, I guess it does.
What a thrill.
What a thrill. I don't think I ever let my mana bar get below a half, and I always had fully stocked mana potions, so I was really conservative with my use.
Sounds that way.
Which means I pretty much only ever used Blink and Dark Vision.
Oh, you play it like me.
Just going slow and stealthy. I went for the low chaos ending, and I succeeded. I think the only time I killed people was during the prison mission because I was like, this game is unbeatable if you don't kill people. And then I got my powers and I was like, oh, wait, no, it's not. I really liked the level design. Some of my favorite levels were the Lady Boyle's Last Party, which is the big masquerade ball. I feel like that's a fan favorite, probably.
Heath and I.
Audio listener, Heath and Chris are nodding affectionately.
It's a great level. And I also really liked Return to the Tower, which is where you take down, can I say?
Sure.
Oh, the
Batman.
Current regent in charge. I thought the level design of that was really cool and interesting. The way they give you information is pretty cool because it'll be through eavesdropping. So you'll naturally come across an environment where you'll hear people saying oh, the regent is really paranoid that Corvo's coming tonight. He won't leave his bedroom. And that's how you know, okay, that's my target. Maybe that's the obvious way to communicate information if you're posing as an assassin/spy, but I really liked that. I really liked discovering all the ways to take down targets without killing them. I thought a lot of them were really creative, and putting them into action I thought was really fun. The fact that you take Lady Boyle, you knock her out and deliver them into the hands of a man who's like, don't worry, you'll never see her again. I'll take good care of her.
All right.
And you're like, well, she's not dead, so good luck with that.
Case closed.
Corvo's done it again.
Paragon of virtue, Corvo.
Paragon of virtue. I got the good ending, so clearly I was the hero.
Did you get all the runes?
God, no. I got enough. I unlocked the powers of possession and of slowing time down. I used the slowing time down power 0 times, and I possessed maybe 3 animals. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like there's a whole other game I didn't play within Dishonored because of what powers I chose to use.
That's true.
I would definitely like to play it again, go full chaos, and just murder everyone in sight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see when I do that. But I quite liked this game. It's probably going to be in my top 10 games for the year as well.
That was as good of a reaction as I could have hoped for.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked it a lot.
When you sent me the text message saying you're now Dishonored pilled, I gave a fist pump. What prompted that again?
What's her name? Granny Rags.
Granny Rags.
She sends you on a mission to poison a off-brand cure for the plague because she doesn't like the gang making it.
Slackjaw and his boys.
And you have to sneak into a different house to get a rat to poison the stuff with. And I was taking down these guys stealthily in this house. And I was like, oh man, this is so fun. I feel so accomplished whenever I clear a room and pile everyone's bodies into a corner.
They're unconscious bodies.
They're not dead. Yeah, they're alive.
They're sleeping.
They're all snoring.
And this game turned you into a save scummer, I hear.
Oh, yes. I was quick saving and quick loading like you wouldn't believe.
As God intended.
Yeah, and that's how I was able to get Ghost on a lot of my levels, was because I did that. But it was so fun, and it was super worth it to like maybe try different things and see what worked and what didn't to stealthily take down people.
Chris, is there any corner of Dishonored you think you haven't seen?
Maybe a few pixels here and there.
Yeah,
I've played through it, I don't know, 3.5 times.
maybe like an armchair that's that you can hide behind. That you just never, your vision cone never passed it.
I intend on playing it again, so maybe I'll mop up any loose threads there.
Like if you were heavily injured in a car crash and you were like blind, you could probably still talk her through the whole game. And that would be your gaming catharsis in the hospital bed.
Right. So that probably bodes well for future Arcane games you'll check out.
Like Karma Star.
First, I'm going to play the DLC for Dishonored. And I'll probably hit
called
Dishonored
Outside Echoes of the Outsider. What is it?
There's the Knife of Dunwall and the Brigmore Witches.
She gets kidnapped again.
You get to see Dowd's perspective in those.
Which one's Dowd?
He was the assassin at the beginning of the game who kills the Empress.
Oh, and then it's like a showdown in the really drippy district.
Right.
Where
The Flood District.
Yeah,
Flood
that's what I said.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
wait, that's not even right.
And
I think it is.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, let's see which of us is the more such and such. But I ruined the stealth. I failed my approach. So we're just stabbing each other. And I didn't bother to reset. And then I read like a notebook on his person, and then I'm led to the kingdom.
Oh, I wanted to
Classic
comment
Dowd.
that I was watching the credits roll, and the voice acting for this game was like unnecessarily star-studded.
Surprisingly so.
Carrie Fisher voices street people. She's not even credited as a character.
That's ridiculous.
That's crazy to me. That just blew my mind. And of course, I mean, I was able to recognize that Susan Sarandon was Granny Rags, which I don't know how they pitched her on that. Good for them
'Cause they're
for
French.
getting her.
Yeah, it is a French studio that
Yeah,
made
so
it.
they could be like,
Oh.
Suzanne, please come voice in our game.
From
Yeah,
one
she would say, yeah.
Frenchman to another.
And yeah, they sweet talked him.
No, it's I love Dishonored with my whole heart and soul, but the fact that they enlisted such A-list talent for a game with such a middling plot, it kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, I would describe the plot of Dishonored as fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It gets the job done, but that's not why I'm there.
I will say, so when I was first playing the game, and of course you like play hide and seek with Emily, and then you walk up and watch the Empress die, I actually laughed out loud because they were like building up the Empress. It's all they talk about in the first 60 seconds of the game, and then she dies immediately, and I was like, I have no feelings for her.
You're
at
on the
all.
super slow boat ride, and,
Yeah.
and what's his face? Seamus, I'm going to say his name is Seamus, goes, oh, the Empress she's been so eager to reunite with you after grade school or something.
Well, they have to speed run endearing you to her because she's got about 120 seconds to live.
It didn't work, so that's why I was cracking up so badly, because I was like, this is like literally ridiculous. But the rest of it wasn't so atrocious.
You know how the new Gears of War game is going to be a prequel?
Yes.
We need an Empress prequel for Outsiders. What the hell is the game called?
Dishonored. An Empress prequel.
Yeah.
Rising through the ranks of the aristocracy.
Corvo, these bullies took my bag and put it in their locker. You need to dark vision which locker it is.
That way, the beginning of Dishonored will be a real tearjerker once you've played the prequel.
Yes, that's yeah. I'm doing Arcane's work for him.
Very cool. Well, we certainly covered a
If
huge.
Endless Ocean appears higher than Dishonored on the top 10 list, I'm going to laugh.
I told Chris when we were finishing up Persona, and he was like, great game, right? And I was like, yeah, it was amazing. And I was like, I hope your feelings aren't hurt when I put Endless Ocean Luminous as number 1 on my list.
Yeah.
And no one's perfect.
Speaking of which, audio listener, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have a change of heart around the microphones. Am I right?
It'll be nothing but Persona 5 Royal Talk. We'll see you then. And we're back. Hey, guess what? Samantha and I, we rolled the credits on Persona 5
He did
Royal.
too. Imagine.
That would be Herculean effort on your part.
Devoted.
You'd enjoy anime by the end of it.
I'm quitting my job, but even that won't allow enough free time to beat 5 Royal.
My God.
Persona is really a full-time job.
So let's dive into spoiler-free impressions first. Wrap up our general thoughts. Samantha, do you want to take the lead?
I'll let you lead and I'll comment as a new player.
Okay, sure. No, I love Persona 5 Royal thoroughly. You got me to reflect on this, Samantha. Between playing Vanilla 7 years ago and now Royal, I'm hard-pressed to think of any video game I've spent more hours playing. The only thing that gives it a run for its money is probably Hearthstone, like a live service game I played over the course of years. But no, my Steam time on this game, there's some idle hours there, but I think my final Steam clock for Persona 5 Royal on this run-through was 166 hours. That means that between my first playthrough and now, I'm flirting with 300 hours of my life spent in Persona. How could it not mean a lot to me? I've spent so much of my actual life runtime in the world of LeBlanc, the cafe, and Shujin Academy, Central Street.
Those are baby numbers. I've spent more than 300 hours on several games.
Some of us are built different, Samantha. Royal itself improves on the original game, which was already exemplary. It just definitively improves upon it. All the new songs introduced in the Royal section of the game, they're bangers. I believe. Throw Away Your Mask. They're all so good. I love that the game and its epilogue, the new portion of the game, tackles some heady topics and thought-provoking conflicts that the base game never really touched upon, making me reinterpret the game and the story in a new light. Just when I sat there and I rolled the credits and the credits themes plays and I see the slow roll of all the names, I just sat back in my chair, let the whole experience wash over me. I was in bliss. It was like, yeah, this is one of those special games, isn't it? Persona 5 Royal, it's Chris bait.
Why'd you wait so long to play it?
Mostly the fatigue of I knew what a marathon experience was in front of me, and I was basically waiting for my cooldown to refresh, trying to put some more distance between my original playthrough and now. Just because I knew in all likelihood, after I play Persona 5 Royal, I am probably never touching this game ever again. It demands far too much of my finite hours. I've got other games to play, dude.
I know, like Dancing Star Night.
Yeah, all the spin-offs. Are you kidding? I've got to play Strikers now.
Got him.
But no, that's why I waited. I wanted the heart to grow fonder as I built up like a longing for the game.
You feel the same way, Sam?
I mean, I felt like the ending was a very emotional experience. Like, you've been with these characters for over 100 hours, and you've spent pretty much that whole time getting to know them and interacting with them. And by the end, Sojiro really does feel like your adoptive father, and Ryuji does feel like your best friend. I was pretty sad to see the credits because Chris replayed this game because Royal came out and there was new content to see. I don't know if I'll ever replay the game unless just to purely experience the game again. And it is a little sad to see an experience like that go. I thought it was an amazing game. It delivered on exactly what was promised, and I loved it. I'm excited to see more Persona games. I haven't played 3 or 4, and I know the new one is coming out relatively soon. But yeah, you can definitely consider me a Persona fan.
To the game's length, you commented it's pretty gross how you can be nostalgic for plot points that happened at the beginning of the game, like in real world time 3 months ago.
Yeah, there at the end of the game, there's like a reference to something that happened pretty much at the exact beginning of the game. And I was sitting there being like, wow, yeah, I remember when that happened. And I'm like, 3 months ago. And then I was like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, you're
At least Mass Effect had the dignity to split up the games. So when I felt nostalgic, it was reasonable.
You're wistful and teary-eyed for moments of the same game you're still playing.
Exactly. It's ridiculous.
Guys,
Hey, Heath.
when you're fighting the final boss.
All right, here we go. We're fully transitioning into spoiler talk.
When you're fighting the final boss, God.
Oh, that's not the final boss.
Oh, okay. What?
Sure.
Does one of your party mates suggest that one of you sneak off and attack from the side to get in the other party members distract them?
Wait, did that happen?
Honestly, I mean, cutting like the cords.
Oh,
So
yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
Not that different from the Kamoshida fight.
I feel like every boss battle had that.
I do actually remember in the boss fight where that happened towards the end, I was like, man, this does remind me of Kamoshida. How nostalgic. So they
There you
sure
go.
did have
Some
that.
of them were novel. The Akuma, the fast food CEO boss, he's an endless wave of grunts, and you're on a 30-minute time crunch to get through them all.
Oh.
So that's a pretty different tonally fight.
True deadly sin is he greed?
I believe he's
Gluttony.
greed. I think Kanashiro, the mob guy, is gluttony. I mean, they're both money-hungry guys, so like it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, probably Kanashiro is gluttony because, yeah, that makes more sense.
Anyway, what I most want to discuss with you guys is the third semester. Heath, fill us in. How versed are you with the story of Persona 5?
Okay, so you play as Joker, and he goes to the school,
Shujin Academy.
Shujin Academy, and it's really hard to find the library. But if you do and it's raining, you should study.
You're so true.
Take it away.
Do you know what the events at the end of the game are? Like?
So the red-haired gymnast girl is like brain controlled.
She's actually her sister.
There's a late game twist where she's actually the sister she's been telling you was deceased in a car accident.
Oh.
So the car accident plays out like there's the one really successful sister and the one that's been kind of overshadowed. And the one that's overshadowed is kind of expressing her discontent and runs off like in a huff. And then the really successful sister chases after her into a busy street, pushes the sad sister out of the way, and gets hit by a car. Ooh. So the sad sister is now left with the person she loved most in the world, but also overshadowed her, is now dead, and she feels like it's her fault.
She's got mega survivor's guilt.
Oh, that's excellent character building.
So then our main villain for the last semester sees her and is like, oh, I can fix this. And makes her believe that she is actually her sister instead. So she gets all that confidence and pep back.
How do you make someone believe that you're actually their sister?
Messing with their cognition.
Oh.
In the metaverse.
Oh, okay.
Did you watch the video I sent you, Heath?
No.
Oh.
I don't even remember a video.
I think this discussion would benefit from you having watched it.
Well, I guess we'll leave this set up for after dinner.
Everything I want to talk about is predicated on
So
it.
we should pull the plug now, you're saying?
Yeah.
How long is this video?
It's 20 minutes.
All right.
You can watch it in front of us.
You could
2 times speed.
You probably really just need to listen to it.
It's a good video. I'll watch it. Well, we cut away for a second and gave Heath a crash course in the conflict that happens in the third semester of Persona 5.
Can I just skip to the third semester?
I wish you could.
Give me your save states.
It's like the best part of the game. Oh. I wonder if I could copy a save state and send it to you.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're talking about Counselor Maruki and the main antagonist at the end of Persona 5,
Royal,
who picks up after you defeat God.
The end of Persona 5's main antagonist was God.
The Holy Grail God.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not even going to mention the escalation that must occur to go from fighting your gym teacher to fighting God within the span of like...
Well, yeah, it's a JRPG. What did you think was going to happen?
I don't know. Not that.
So you can see why Heath just watched a crash course video with us And you can see why I thoroughly enjoyed the conflict at the central of this arc. It all harkens all the way back to the experience machine debate we had in episode 42 and 43. It's tackling such heady topics as what makes life worth living, what is the role of suffering in life. And
don't get your hopes up, audio listener. That third semester is required reading for this debate, and I haven't played it, so I'm not going to swing for the fences. Are we going to talk about Akechi first or Sumire?
Well, you want to maybe iron down some hard and fast details to share with the listeners?
All right, get ready for some. Jeremy Bentham's going to get name dropped 5 times. He name dropped Nozick. He name dropped your entire cavalcade of all your favorite boys, Chris.
Just a quick and dirty synopsis of what is this conflict happening. The Phantom Thieves, you wake up on Christmas Day and find yourself in a new reality. Seemingly Joker, the main character, is the only one aware of it at the start. Dead characters like Futaba's mom or Haru's father are walking around.
This is so much more interesting than the hours that I played.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's wild. This is the best part of the game, and you need to get through 120 hours of gameplay to access it.
All right, this isn't over.
If you get your teeth, it's amazing.
I need to get there. Futaba's mom.
Right. Dead beloved characters are alive and breathing. Even Akechi, a party member presumed dead, comes back to take the fall for Joker, who is going to turn himself into the police to get a more substantial case against Shido, the evil politician.
Yes.
Patriarch.
So suddenly things are way better. Ryuji suddenly back on the track team, no longer suffering from a shattered leg. Ann's best friend Shiho's back in the picture, never committed suicide.
Never succeeded in her attempt.
She never attempted.
She never had to attempt it.
Kamoshida didn't exist.
Doesn't
Full
exist.
retcon.
Yes.
Yusuke, who was betrayed by his mentor and father figure, that turns out his father figure is now a genuinely good person.
And Mom still painted that painting?
Mom painted
gets
that painting.
all due credit for the painting.
This is so interesting.
You left out the consequence of this, which is that Morgana is your cartoon cat mascot.
He's the mascot
character, and he has one desire throughout this entire game, and that is to become a human so he can flirt with pretty ladies, and
specifically on.
And to our great misfortune, they decided to gift us with Human Morgana. And it's disgusting. Nobody likes it.
Yeah, the way they introduce it is really funny because Morgana's he's your pet cat. You wake up every in-game calendar day with him sleeping on your chest.
Yeah.
So when you wake up in the new reality, there's this hot stud of a guy just on top of you in bed.
You're learning a lot about Joker's ideal reality in that moment.
Sounds like a typical Christmas day. I don't know what you're talking about.
I felt really slow-witted because it took me a couple in-game days to figure out who the hell that guy was.
Versus I saw him, the first frame he was in, I was like, that's disgusting. I almost called you.
You almost uninstalled the game.
Yeah.
Gotta wash my hands.
So everything's hunky-dory for the Phantom Thieves. All the hardship and strife they encountered over 120 hours.
Did Joker even get criminal charges pressed on him?
He never was falsely accused in the new reality.
Wow, he just shoojinned it up anyway.
He just shoojinned it up anyway.
This is great, Chris.
And then you go through the first week of the new reality is basically Joker waking up every day, going to consult a different party member day to day, and basically ruining their life as he subtly implies.
He red pills them.
He red pills everyone. He wakes them up day by day.
You fail to mention why he does this. It's not just for his own satisfaction. So he runs into Akechi and Sumire, and they're both checking out this palace.
Is Sumire Kasumi still?
Yes, at the time she's still Kasumi.
Okay.
And Akechi's I feel like something's up. Something is weird because Joker and Akechi both recognize that things are not as they seem.
Yeah, Akechi's like, "Hey Joker, you see all these dead people? Let's check this out.
Let's check this out. That's weird."
So they stumble upon Maruki's palace and confront him. And Maruki, just because he's such an upstanding guy, up until this point, he's so charismatic. He's so like and kind-hearted and like bumbling in an endearing way.
He's so dreamy.
He's arguably the most likable character in the entire cast, as he serves as your school counselor at Shujin. And then you meet him in his palace. And since he's still such a nice guy, he's like, yeah, here's my reality. This is the fruition of my life's work. Because you basically beat God, I was able to like take the reins away from him, plug into mementos, leverage all my cognitive science research, and manifest ideal reality as you are seeing it. He's basically omnipotent, so he could have just left Joker kind of ignorance is bliss, plug into the matrix, but he left Joker aware of the situation, Akechi too, because just being such a nice guy, he wanted to genuinely earn the approval of Joker. Joker, who helped him finish his research and like caused a couple breakthroughs in your counseling sessions with him. So Joker helped to make Maruki's dream come true. And as a thank you, as a consolation prize, he's like, I'm giving you all your faculties. You're not plugged into my matrix yet. You can see all of your friends are. Joker has free reign. He
can see outside the cave.
He can see Plato's cave.
Somebody's cave.
It's Plato, yeah.
Yeah. Only because Maruki wills it.
Right.
Because he just holds Joker in such high regard that he wanted to like genuinely earn his approval of what he's doing. And he's like, go visit your friends, see how much they're enjoying it. And
whereas Akechi is dead in the cave.
Akechi is brought back in this idealized reality.
Weirdly, we'll get onto this later.
That was the big subversive twist for people who play vanilla Persona 5, where Akechi full on dies. You never see him again. And then you see him like dramatically unveil himself on Christmas. And I'm like, Holy shit, he's not supposed to be here. What's going on?
This is great.
And I really liked how by the end of Royal, they didn't retcon vanilla Persona 5. Akechi did die. Yeah. He's only back because of Maruki and his shenanigans.
So the top right corner that's in red text, what does it say? Like days to blue pill?
I mean, kind of.
Within the lore of the game, it gets established that there is a point of no return where if Maruki's reality persists for long enough, it'll eventually become unreversible. It'll become as immutable as the reality we know today. Mm-hmm. It'll basically solidify, and then there will be no going back. It'll be Maruki world from here on out. So that's the hard deadline that you're up against to finish this palace.
I have FOMO. I played the shitty half of Inscription that's the 8-bit card sim.
Well, no, here's the thing, Heath. You played the shitty 1/7 of Persona 5 before you get to the good stuff.
I liked the Kamoshida plotline.
The Kamoshida plotline is very compelling.
I was pretty happy when I beat him. I wanted to punch him in the nose.
It is remarkable how much of a nuanced departure this part of the game is from everything else.
Power gap.
There's a power gap. So then it's Joker trying to wake up his team members, get them to help assist take down Maruki. His palace itself is maybe the best in the game, where you get cool VHS tape flashbacks of several key Maruki moments, like how he awakens to his persona when he's in the hospital with his girlfriend who's in complete shock and lost her identity after watching her parents get murdered in front of her. And that's where he awakens to a persona that gives him the ability to rewrite her memory, that she forgets about the trauma, but in doing so forgets about Maruki.
It should be noted that
it's Old Boy.
Yeah, he opts to have his fiance forget about him so that she can live a functional life again.
Janice knew what I meant. Or Justin? One of them has seen Old Boy. Samantha tried to say something, but then I made her forget what she was trying to say.
I can't remember.
That was my Maruki moment.
But I'm happy. When Rumi sees her parents get murdered in this home invasion, Maruki is nearby. He's like physically present.
Brown hat.
And watches Rumi get assaulted, I believe, and doesn't do anything. Like, he's unable to act. So I think a lot of Maruki's actions are taken from his...
It's guilt.
Yeah, it's from his perceived
survivor
failure
guilt. Yeah.
to do anything to help this woman that he presumably loves more than anything.
Right. Even though when she wakes up as her new self after he fixes her, she's like, hey, you're kind of cute. You want to get coffee sometime? But Maruki's like, nah, I've gotta stop all suffering. See you later, babe. We see more things like Shido, the evil politician, shuts down Maruki's research, like a more tragic backstory for Maruki.
Good.
But Maruki gets the last laugh because he creates the new reality. And when you first confront him in the palace, you can low-key agree with him, which I did my first playthrough. And it fast. You get to see the rest of the game play out in an abbreviated version. In Maruki's world, you get to see your upperclassmen like Haru and Makoto graduate. The whole gang's together. It's funny. When I agreed to what I knew would be the premature, like fake bad ending, I was like, okay, game. So far, I'm on board with this medicine Maruki's peddling to me. I want to see things play out. Show me why this is the inferior choice. And it presents a dearth of evidence, I'd say. If you pulled up like Persona 5 bad ending credits right now, you just see a bunch of saccharine sweet images scroll by and you'd be like, Chris, this is the bad ending? It seems best case scenario.
Seeing the good ending, I was like, no, give me the bad ending back. Now I'm sad. Why can't things be good again?
There it is. We see all of our besties living their truth here.
Look how cute they are.
An and Shiho, who's not crippled from her suicide attempt.
Look at her smiling.
This is the bad ending.
Yusuke painting with his father figure who did not betray him.
Makoto
hanging out with her dad.
Her happy family life.
Yeah.
Haru hanging out with her dad. Akechi alive and hanging out with his bestie Joker.
Sumire realizing her dreams. I guess she's not Sumire though.
Kasumi.
So
oh my God, they don't have eyes.
They're not important.
That's the horror.
So
you can't be suffering if you can't see the suffering.
I want to point out a weird discrepancy that when Akechi is brought back to life originally, he is in full angst form. Like he's basically just really intense to be around. He's like
he threw away his mask.
He threw away his mask fully. So he's like just kind of out of pocket all the time. But like allegedly he was created by Maruki. And then when you get the bad ending and you see what Akechi is up to, he is fully masked back on. I mean, he seems to be just a happy and well-balanced individual, which he's certainly not. So I don't understand why Maruki brought him back the first time as unhinged Akechi.
What's Akechi's deadly sin? Wrath?
He doesn't have a palace.
Oh.
He's a Persona user. He attempts to befriend you originally as like a sweet detective guy who just like catches on to your ways.
Doesn't Futaba have a palace?
She does.
She does.
What's she?
She's her deadly sin is sloth.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of mean.
Well, I mean, she's a shut-in who doesn't leave her room.
She's traumatized.
Well, yeah.
She's not lazy.
So Maruki whitewashed Akechi?
So, yeah. And then when you realize who he really is, he's just this really angry like teenager who is bent on revenge against his father and is really violent and has killed several people.
Right.
And you're like, wow, what a cool friend. I'll rank him up to rank 10.
And the third semester, when he briefly serves as your navigator in the battles, it's some of the best of the game. Because you're used to like Futaba being like, watch out, Joker, I'll buff your stats. And Akechi's like,
this shadow scum is coming back for more.
Yeah.
Let's grind these peons into the ground. And you're like, Akechi, can you relax, please?
Like, Joker's enraged. I kind of like it. He's out of pocket. It's amazing voice lines.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't understand why Maruki just didn't bring him back as like untraumatized Akechi the first time
sterilized,
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems weird, but whatever.
So I thought fascinating. Surely the game was gonna portray the two sides you could take. And,
So the bad ending surprised you.
Bad ending surprised me with how
you reloaded.
Seemingly picturesque it was.
Yeah.
You reload it. Of course, I want to see the rest of this game has to offer.
Right.
Play through the palace in its entirety and see Maruki get taken down.
And he sure does. I think the confrontation scene with Akechi, where it's revealed that if you defeat Maruki, Akechi will die. And there is no life for him after that, where he confronts Joker and is like, you're not a coward. You're going to fight Maruki anyway. Don't let him hold me hostage. In the beginning of the game, I really thought Akechi was insufferable. I didn't like him. And as I saw his true self, I was like, well, I like him more, but he's definitely not like a good person.
He's way more entertaining.
I definitely really admired him for that. I think it's a very strong sort of person you have to be to say, I'm standing by my values and beliefs, even if it costs me my life, especially when I know it's going to cost me my life.
Right. That makes sense for Akechi, because so much of his first life was so much out of his hands.
Yeah.
He wanted autonomy. So what I wanted to dig into, I wanted to unpick my feelings around this debate and what the game's lessons it wants you to take away from it are, and whether the Phantom Thieves were in the right or the wrong. That's what I wanted to dig into. Here's my takeaway. I think this is the opinion I've landed on. I think the canon ending of Persona 5 is to reject Maruki's idealized reality. It's pretty clear that's what the game is nudging you towards. I've landed on, I think, the themes of Persona 5 and the lessons it wants to impart on you. It gives you actionable, pragmatic advice for the real world. I think the fact that the game encourages you to not escape your issues, ignore them. You should face hardships head on, do your best to accept them, and through overcoming suffering, you can grow. That's a surefire way to grow as a person, become a more robust individual, and be able to live the life to your full potential. Those are the themes of the game. That's what makes life worth living. Growth, personal development. That's all advice I can get behind. I think it's powerful stuff. Where I feel like the game maybe stumbles and felt messier to me was I felt that while the lessons Persona 5 wants you to go and apply into your actual life ring true, I think within the fantasy scenario established in the fiction of Persona 5, I think it provides a dearth of evidence to support the Phantom Thieves opposing Maruki. I think the Phantom Thieves made bad choices doing that within the universe of Persona 5.
In real life, if you ignore your problems, like let's say you're married to someone for 30 years and you have kids and you think they're cheating on you, if you ignore that and be like, no, I don't want to change my life, I like it how it is, I don't want to confront this issue, it could come back to bite you in a very bad way and you may not be prepared. Your partner could leave you and leave you with nothing. And then you'd be stuck in this really awful situation. Versus if you face your problems head on and prepare, you're going to still go through a very painful experience, but you're going to have a better outcome. In Maruki's fantasy, he just makes your partner not cheat on you. So it's like there's no consequence to ignoring your problems because you don't have any.
Yeah, you're digging into... There's several objections the game does raise against Maruki. And the first one I was going to mention is, to jump off of your scenario you just laid out, is whether you should live in a beautiful lie versus live in an ugly truth. Where the original series of events in Persona 5 is quite ugly, with all the dead parents and broken legs and suicide attempts. And the beautiful lie Maruki presents would not have all those struggle and strife.
But the issue is, by definition, in Persona 5's reality, Maruki's alleged lie will just become the truth.
Right.
So it's like, what is your definition of truth in the Persona universe? It seems very flexible. I think I would just be like, Maruki looks like he's changing the world for the better. Wow, he's ending poverty? I would have to be a monster to stop him.
For sure. Since they decided to introduce facts into the equation like, Maruki's reality is irreversible after this point in time, and it's going to be as immutable as the reality we know, I think it ceases to be a beautiful lie. It is simply an alternate reality. It's no more or less real than the first one. It's equally valid. I think of, let's say, the reality Maruki created. Actually, we flip-flop the events. The reality he created played out first, and then the actual game that you experience played out second. If we just flip-flop the order of operations there and you see Maruki's actually gunning for a reality where he shatters Ryuji's leg and kills Haru's dad, Makoto's dad. He kills all the parents, makes Shiho try to commit suicide. It would be universally agreed upon, oh, Maruki's like the most gross villain in the game. He's so evil. And yet that's what the Phantom Thieves fight for, a return to form with all this hardship and heartbreak. It's just, I guess the Phantom Thieves they're falling into, I think, a cognitive bias where they ascribe greater authenticity to this series of events than this one because this one happened first and this one happened second, where both could be equally real thanks to the power of Maruki magic.
If the writers of Persona had made Maruki's world really just an illusion, where the reality was actually happening underneath and it was just like everyone was perceiving their happy reality, I think that would be a trickier question. That is more of a beautiful lie.
Right.
But Maruki's reality is only a beautiful lie right now because he needs another month
he
to
needs
load.
Just a couple more weeks to finish buffering.
He's like, hey, Joker, can you come back in a week and then we can talk about it?
They go to great lengths to say all these deceased people who are walking around now, they're as flesh and blood alive as us. It's not a trick.
Akechi verbatim says, yes, these people are alive in every sense of the word.
They're not cognitive beings. So yeah, that was one objection people would have. Another one I think could ring true is the game shows how you get many, many examples in every arc of the game, how suffering can lead to growth. And the Phantom Thieves become stronger, more resilient people by hour 120 than they were at the beginning, due to every conflict arc they overcome, whether it's Kanashiro or Medjed or the side fake trial. And that's true. They're more fleshed out, nuanced characters by the end than they were at the beginning, largely in part to the suffering they've overcome. Yeah, once again, this is good actionable advice to apply to your thinking if that resonates with you. The reason I can somewhat dismiss that complaint about Maruki's world that lacks suffering is that, yes, I think characters won't grow as much in Maruki's world. I think that's true. And I don't think that's a problem because in the personal growth you experience after triumphing over suffering, that's good because it makes you more resilient to overcome future suffering and the other hurdles life is going to throw at you. But that point is rendered moot if there isn't going to be future suffering. In Maruki's perfect world, you don't need to become a huge Chad in the gym and learning from all the Greek Stoics if life's never going to throw a curveball your way.
So good times leads to weak men. Weak men lead to still good times, thanks to Maruki.
Yeah.
The fact that you are a weaker person than you would be otherwise, you're not going to suffer the consequences of it.
Also, a point on the real world aspect of this, if we're trying to apply these lessons in real life, while I agree that the suffering that the Phantom Thieves personally go through is rather severe, I don't think all suffering leads to growth. I think a lot of people like to say that because it justifies the existence of suffering that could be stopped through action of maybe their own. I think some suffering does lead to growth depending on the person. I definitely think not all of it does. And I think there's a lot of evil in the world that provides no fringe benefits. So if that's Persona's only argument, I still say it falls a little flat.
That's a great point. And the game fails to address this because if they did point out the fact that, hey, the Phantom Thieves they're fighting tooth and nail to make sure child starvation persists, to make sure war continues. Like, there are these huge, high leverage, near universally agreed upon improvements Maruki would institute that, okay, so maybe some people aren't self-actualizing as well as they could have been now that they're Maruki pilled. The fact that we get to end war, disease, poverty, those are such big ticket line items. If the game bothered to address it, which they don't at all, the Phantom Thieves would be painted in such an unsympathetic light that it would shatter any kind of message or moral they were trying to leave you with.
But they do kind of provide one concrete example of a person who would definitely not choose to go back into their suffering world, who I would argue would say, no, I did not have a big growth moment from what I experienced. Yes, I would rather not have done it. And that is Shiho, who was unfortunately sexually assaulted by Kamoshida and then encouraged, I believe, to commit suicide. I don't know. I feel like if I were her and my best friend An was like, hey, Shiho, remember all that? Don't you miss that reality where you were severely traumatized over and over again? What if we went back? I would say, wow, I didn't realize my best friend was my worst enemy. It seems like she wants the worst for me. I don't think Shiho had a big growth moment that made all that suffering worth it.
Not really. You see some in like An's rank 10. I almost said rank 10 again. An's rank 10 confidant meeting where you meet up with Shiho on the rooftop again.
She seems to be barely... she's barely
she's
recovering.
In crutches.
Yeah.
She's undergoing physical therapy and she's like, I'm doing all this because you're such an inspiration, An, and stuff.
She's
I
barely
agree.
recovering from her trauma. That is certainly not the life that I think she would like to be living.
No, it's a major setback
Yeah.
that she shouldn't have to be dealing with.
Right.
I think in some ways, maybe it brought them closer, but this is all very debatable.
They seemed pretty close in that bad ending screenshot, if you ask me.
They sure
a
did.
little too close. I don't know. I feel like she's a concrete example of, hey, look what you're literally doing to your best friend if you follow through on this plan.
No, my biggest frustration with this whole arc of the game is whenever the Phantom Thieves, during their hangout sessions, they'll be looking around at the new reality they're faced with. And they'll be like, man, all the workers on the subway we commute on every day sure seem a lot happier. Man, the most stern teacher at Shujin Academy,
He's so nice now.
He's did a bit of a 180. He's like much happier and has a more friendly relationship with his students. This Phantom Thieves, upon seeing all these concrete examples of things are pretty good, their conversation will always end on the same note, which is like, but this isn't quite right, is it? No, it's wrong. We should fix it. The game is making this implicit assumption that the player will nod their head in agreement and be like, yeah, this isn't right. We should fix it. But the game refuses to elaborate on what exactly is so bad about this. It says, yeah, this is bad. You agree, don't you, player? And then if the player says, could you fill in the blanks a little bit for me more? I don't quite see what's so bad about everyone enjoying their jobs on the subway. And the game just it refuses to engage on that deeper level. That was my biggest frustration. There are a couple more arguments, though, that I thought someone could have to the Maruki reality. A big one is the abolishment of free will, because you're beholden to what Maruki thinks is going to make you happy in his reality. Now, for the main cast, we think he makes reasonably good guesses because he's been counseling them over the course of the game, so he knows what their biggest problems are and probably has some good insight on how to fix them, resurrecting parents and what have you. I wish there were more examples like this. You get a text message from Yusuke, the artist guy, who said he had an artist acquaintance who, back in OG reality, he's been working really hard, but he's ran into artist's block and has been struggling for months to create anything of value in his artistic field. And he's been like suffering from it, from being so unproductive. But in the new Maruki reality, Yusuke says, I found my friend. He never even pursued art in this reality. He's actually a really accomplished archer all of a sudden and seems happier than ever. So in the Maruki reality, the guy's personal decision to pursue art has been forcibly taken away from him. He no longer gets to pursue art as his calling. Maruki did, mental deep dive with his persona.
No, you know what I think Maruki did?
What?
He just looked at the list of hobbies and saw that archery was so close to art and was like, that'll do it.
Yeah, he sent him down the archery
Just
trail.
looked at the list of clubs available.
I wonder if Maruki gets to see like a big stat chart for everybody, like their relative strength and intelligence, and is just like algorithmically assigning like careers for people. Sounds pretty nice.
He seems to have chosen a field where this individual is more successful in and is happier, but the individual didn't get to ultimately pull the strings themselves.
Sorry, I just thought of this. You kind of have to wonder if there isn't an inherent contradiction there. Because let's say this person's really good at archery. Well, presumably everyone pursuing an archery career would also want to be very successful at archery. Like, what do they take turns winning the championship? Do they all win the championship?
Hey, good question.
That's not very rewarding. How does that system function?
Right. What if two people's happiest moments are mutually exclusive?
Exactly. So there are so many people, surely that is the case quite often.
Right. Like Sumire wants to be the number one gymnast, and Maruki can make that happen, but there can only be one number one gymnast. What about everyone else who wanted to study gymnastics?
They just become archers.
There are so many archers in Maruki's reality. It's out of hand.
The game, so that is an issue. Like, maybe an ideal reality can't exist. I believe the answer the game provides, which I might be reading into, is yes, there can only be one winner. Maruki will pivot other people away and just make them happy doing something else they didn't choose to do.
But there's only so many fields in life.
Not everyone Maruki will make sure not everyone needs to be world class at something.
I see. So someone else could find, they are a professional archer, but they find more happiness in their home life being successful and having children or having a partner.
Right.
And so they don't need to be fulfilled through career success.
There's part of Maruki's palace where you're forced into answering multiple choice questions.
I gotta play this game.
One is you're pursuing your dream and it's causing you lots of pain and strife. How do you respond? What was the answer for that one? Do you remember?
So there were a couple options. One is continue the dream at all costs.
All costs.
The second one was give up the dream.
Give up the dream.
Give it up for something that you know you can do. And then the third one was,
keep working at it. Just remain at a steady pace working at it.
Remain at a steady pace.
Don't kill yourself.
Yeah. So one was basically do anything to accomplish your goals. One was give up. You're never going to do it. And then the third one was just stay the course.
Just tread water.
You're trying to guess what Maruki's mindset would be.
I really like this multiple choice section because
it's really good.
It's not only really entertaining to play because you're trying to figure it out and it's fun, but also it kind of reveals the inherent contradictions in Maruki's actions versus his thinking. So if you look at Maruki's life, he has pursued his dream at all costs.
At all costs. But he doesn't think that's the right answer for other people to pursue.
He says, no, if people's dreams are making them unhappy, they should give it up and go for something else. That's the correct answer. And there are a couple more questions that also reflect this, where it's Maruki is saying one thing and doing the other. I don't know if it pokes a hole into his whole reality, because his whole reality still seems really good. But it's interesting to see that he must be self-aware on some level that what he's doing is not what he thinks people should be doing.
Seeing his answer to that multiple choice question gives us our answer. What would we do with the inherent contradiction of multiple people competing over best gymnast? He would make one be the best and force everyone else to give up their goal, do something else, and make them really happy doing something else. So he removes their agency, but makes them happier than they would be otherwise in the process.
Right.
And to that I say,
Attaboy.
Attaboy, Maruki. Hypothetically, one of my goals is to spend as much time as possible playing games. I believe that makes me happier than anything else. Now, I'm operating with imperfect information. If Maruki could peer deep into my psyche...
Chris, you get to pull the bow back and just let it fly.
If Maruki said...
So much better.
Chris, you would get 5% more satisfaction if you were dedicated all your time to fishing. The only reason I'm not fishing right now is because I don't know that.
Right.
So I'm using the play of games as a means to an end to reach desirable mental states of happiness. If Maruki can just do that for me better, I would have no qualms handing over the reins to him.
Yeah, I agree. If he's hey, Samantha, you know all that time you spent studying statistics?
that was
a waste.
That's what we call a big L moment.
I'd be yeah, please assign me to a better career where I will be happier. Yes, please. What are the consequences? None. Yeah, it seems it kind of falls through as a criticism.
And then, I mean, depending on how cynical you want to get, you could debate how much free will and agency you have over your actions in the current reality as it is. Maybe you're mostly beholden to your genetics and your environment, which are often arbitrary and random. Where if Maruki's pulling the strings about your actions, at least you have like a benevolent guy trying his best for your outcome rather than the raw entropy of the universe.
You just invented religion.
Oh, no. But my God is real, though.
You met him.
You can meet him in the counseling room, and he gives you nice snacks every time you visit.
Yeah, he sometimes music notes pop out of him.
Only if you're good.
The last objectionable reason I think I could come up with to rejecting Maruki's reality is that he's not up to the task. We see examples of him making some questionable decisions.
Like, I don't know, maybe instead of replacing Sumire's identity with Kasumi,
overwrite Sumire.
He could have just brought the sister back.
Which he does with other people.
Seems goofy that he didn't do that. I mean, I guess the argument I thought of was, well, maybe Sumire really is happier without her sister because then she can be the true gymnast and not have to worry about fighting with her sister about it. But that's really dark. I feel like I would never want a reality without my sister, regardless of the cost.
The most generous reading I can give it is the time he comes into full power. Maybe he only views himself as having an obligation to make living people happy, and Kasumi would be dead. He doesn't have an obligation to like resurrect.
Sumire would be dead in his full reality.
Well, Sumire wouldn't exist. She'd be overwritten. And yeah, maybe if he did bring Kasumi back, Sumire would permanently live in her shadow, which could feel like a major L.
If he's maximizing the happiness of
the
her,
living,
then that's probably how he's going to do it. Still feels like really messed up.
Yeah, still feels messed up when it's shown time and time again he can fully bring people back, and yet he doesn't do that for Kasumi.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe he's not ideally cut out for the job, but
on the other hand, he lets Sojiro continue to be my dad, and I don't have to go back to my crappy parents who shipped me off the minute I tried to protect a woman from assault.
Your parents didn't text you one time throughout that entire
year. You know what?
year.
I didn't want to hear from them. They're not my parents.
Hashtag not my Sojiro.
Sojiro should have adopted me in the true ending. I don't care.
Anyway, I've covered all my notes. If I was canonically living within the fiction of Persona 5, I think I'd be hard-pressed not to agree with Maruki.
I would knock Joker upside the head and then shake hands with Maruki and be like, yeah, don't worry about him. He's just being really stupid.
The actions of the Phantom Thieves come across as, at best, naively optimistic because, like, we overcame our struggles and benefited from it. Surely the starving children in Africa will also undergo equal character development.
This is also not to mention that the members of the Phantom Thieves literally had a cheat code to overcoming their suffering, and that they were able to enter a secret hidden universe where they could right their wrongs. Hey, how many real people have access to that? 0. So it's like they're operating under this logic that doesn't exist. So I don't know. It seems to idolize suffering in a way I don't agree with.
I think the game provided a dearth of in-universe reasons to oppose Maruki. I wish it was a little more nuanced in that way.
But longtime fans of the show know that I love suffering. Obviously, I am not a Benthamite. It's equally true that the moral thing to do is for Maruki, he's waving a magic wand. It's not a machine.
Right.
It's not a pleasure machine. It's a pleasure planet.
Yeah.
So the moral thing for it to do is let him wave the magic wand. But it is equally moral to pull Shiho out a experience machine so that she can be in the real world and An can like see her ever again rather than just let her have the ignorance is bliss.
You're saying the fact that the Maruki magic brings everyone along for the ride makes it more palatable? Since it's not certain people are opting in, certain people are opting out. Everyone's along for the ride.
Yeah, on a macro scale, you have to submit to Maruki's vision. But on a micro scale, and I just picked Shiho because it's the example that we've already mentioned, and it's the only one that I'm familiar with.
Right.
And maybe I'm just being naive because I've never been sexually harassed. But it is worth the risk of taking her out of that reality so that she can be in the real reality. And I'll go into that more if I'm cross-examined.
I
go ahead.
don't know that I agree with you. If I really loved someone and I know they'd lived through something really, really traumatic, I don't know that I'd want them to experience that pain, even at the cost of me never seeing them again, which is a big sacrifice. That would cause me a lot of pain. But
if you love something, set it free.
if I love something, don't I want to prevent it from experiencing pain at all costs, even to my own pain? Probably, yeah. I mean, I guess that's not true for everybody, but yeah, I would probably undo a lot of suffering if I could. But I guess on the same token, I wouldn't appreciate someone leaving me in the machine if they thought they were sparing me pain. So maybe I'm a hypocrite because I don't want it for me, but I do it to people I love.
It was too huge an ask, Keith, but I know had you seen this arc of the game play out in front of you, I'm sure different things would have stood out to you, since I think you would have approached it with a different mindset. You would have been less ready and willing to accept Big Papa Maruki. And I think you might have been able to dig up more counter evidence that maybe I glazed over.
You're right to think that.
But you're missing all the context, basically.
There's some context.
You're getting the Chris biased review.
Right. You just listened to Samantha and I, who were much in agreement, rant about how great Maruki is.
But if Maruki were in our world, you would fight him tooth and nail.
Yes on a micro, no on a macro.
I've seen people online say Maruki is just like dressed up Holy Grail Part 2, where they had very similar goals. Why is the Holy Grail's reality so much more objectionable? And why are you swallowing your Maruki medicine?
The Holy Grail's goal was not to maximize the happiness of all people. It was to maximize their complacency, I believe, keeping everyone just kind of content in their place and in their suffering, which is exactly against what the Phantom Thieves believe in. They believe in standing up to injustice. And the Holy Grail was pretty much like, nope, we don't ever have to stand up to anything. Everything can just go as planned.
I agree. I think it's a misnomer to say they're one and the same. I think they're meaningfully distinct.
They're both like essentially gods, but one is a god that's apathetic to your life, and the other one is actively trying to help you.
I think both would have abolished suffering, but the Holy Grail didn't care at all about maximizing happiness.
Yeah, it would be no suffering, but also no happiness.
Right. It was freedom from decision making. It was stagnation. Where Maruki, you can still achieve goals in Maruki's world. In fact, you're far more likely to achieve them because he's going to be pulling the strings.
It's just
on the bow because it's archery.
Perfect.
It's weird how many archers there are in this world.
All right. That's every point I wanted to hit on. Thanks for humoring me, everybody.
So is this in every Persona game?
Is what?
It's just like existential meta commentary.
This, I've only played Persona 4 and 5, and this is the best it's ever been.
Okay, so Persona 6 is going to be... It's going to have friggin' Ship of Theseus in it.
Yeah, but they'll only add it in when they do the Divine Edition.
Which will be the day after you buy the vanilla.
Now, that wouldn't even be so bad because I just like return it. They'll release it the day
3
after
months.
the day after I roll credits on the original version.
Right.
And I'll be like, shit. Well, what's our runtime at, Heath?
We're probably like an hour 40.
Then it's probably time to close out this podcast episode.
Folks, if you want to watch Chris and Samantha beat the witness through the shadow of their family room window, you need only come to boop, and that was their home address, and then write in about that experience at mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com.
That's right. mobiustubespodcast@gmail.com. We pride ourselves on reading every email, answering every question, except for the spam ones. I ignore those. You just jogged my memory. We did actually get one email I didn't read because it was like spam adjacent, somewhat like self-promotion stuff. And I wasn't sure whether I should encourage that kind of behavior. So I just left it unread. I'm sorry, listener.
I'm wondering if I should even leave this in now.
Oh.
Because you did acknowledge it.
Yeah, but I didn't promote what they wanted me to promote. So I rendered their
You're discouraging
purpose.
future behavior.
Right. I'm saying I see you, but I'm not going to do your bidding.
Well, thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for coming, Samantha. I mean, I feel like it was a present to me. You brought Dishonored and Persona 5.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
The present to Samantha is going to be...
Chris is going to buy me dinner.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, when it's your birthday episode, I'll come with like Paper Mario, and I'll finally have played Tears of the Kingdom.
No Stardew Valley still, though.
Yeah, we have to draw the line somewhere.
That's for girls.
Maybe I'll touch Subnautica.
Okay, I was going to say Subnautica at the very least.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next time.